Hello, welcome to Middle East in Depth, part of Levant TV's Speciviews. In a piece titled The Global Struggle to Respond to the Worst Refugee Crisis in Generations, Patrick Boehler and Sergio Pecanha write about the unfortunate 11 million people who were uprooted by violence last year, most of them propelled by conflict in Syria, Iraq, Ukraine and Afghanistan. The writers start by taking a look at the international response to what has become the worst migration crisis since World War II. According to the United Nations, years of violence in Iraq and Syria have stretched the capacities of neighboring countries to accommodate the displaced. In Jordan, unemployment has almost doubled since 2011 in areas with high concentrations of refugees. And according to a recent International Labour Organization study, Lebanon began to require visas from January for Syrian refugees, who now make up about 20% of Lebanon's population. And in March, Turkey announced it would close the 2 remaining border gates with Syria. The article features a graph stating the regional refugee map, showing 1.7 million Syrian refugees in Turkey, 1.2 million in Lebanon, 249,000 in Iraq, and 628,000 in Jordan, and just 134,000 in Egypt. 78,000 people migrated this year trying to get to a safe haven. 1,800 died in the sea. The writers then get to an important dilemma looking at a division in Europe over how to respond to this global crisis. In May, European leaders said they would form a naval force based in Italy to combat people smuggling. This week, the European Commission appealed to the bloc's member states to accept quotas of migrants to relieve the burden on southern states like Italy and Greece, which are the main landing points for them, but it seems poverty and war in places like Libya, Sudan and Nigeria are driving migrants to make the perilous journey across the Mediterranean Sea. And now I am joined by Dana Sleiman, Public Information Officer for UNHCR in Lebanon, talking to us from Beyrouth. Welcome to Middle East in Depth. Dana,
thank you.
Dana, just before calling you, we were featuring an article on refugees and their numbers to date. Now tell us about the numbers in Lebanon particularly, and what does the number tell us, and are you expecting more?
Well, currently there are 1.18 million refugees registered with UNHCR. And this number is not increasing currently because for two main reasons. One, we have stopped registration at the request of the government of Lebanon just recently, at the very beginning of May. And two, the government also, at the turn of 2015, imposed new restrictions at the border and started applying its policy that is put in place in October 2014, which aims to limit the number of Syrian refugees in Lebanon. And the policy we understand in principle because it's informed by the huge strain that this Syrian crisis has imposed on Lebanon and on its very fragile infrastructure. But that said, the close to 1.2 million refugees registered are in Lebanon and they are in need of help. And most of them have depleted their resources and started to sell their assets if they had any to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of...
And they're reliant in big part on humanitarian aid.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of aid and registration, there are discrepancies in access to aid. There are reports of refugees registered to receive aid from more than one charity. Now, this has become possible, obviously, when there isn't much control of the Lebanese authorities over the borders and the refugee registration systems at some point. So is this improving at the moment, and what are you doing about it?
Well, we're coordinating the interagency response along with the Ministry of Social Affairs that's leading the response currently, and the United Nations Development Program that's overseeing development projects that are also taking some 30% of the response. And we're coordinating this effort with 80 humanitarian agencies. And you raised a very good point, and one which we pay close attention to, and it's avoiding duplication and making sure that we're optimizing assistance, especially at a time when funding is so limited and we're not able to reach everyone. And we're having to target assistance for those most in need and prioritize between equally compelling programs. So it's very important at this stage And throughout this crisis, we have paid close attention to this aspect, to coordinate amongst each other. And if there are indeed agencies that are in good faith working to provide aid in specific areas, we do reach out to them and try to invite them to join the coordination meetings that are being held both in Beyrouth and also in our various field locations in Lebanon, so that they become aware of the existing efforts and start to reach out to people who are not receiving aid.
And finally, Dana, what are the main challenges facing your work in Lebanon? And especially in relation to those challenges, what are your suggestions to your Lebanese authority partners in there?
Well, I think one of our biggest challenges is relates to funding and the fact that refugees rely in big part on humanitarian assistance. Especially today, in Lebanon, refugees are not able to work. If a refugee is registered with our office, by law, if we were to follow the government's policy that is put in place, in addition to the border restrictions, it has said that refugees registered cannot work, cannot find job opportunities in Lebanon. So it's illegal for refugees to work. We are not able to provide everyone with the aid they need to survive. But we're doing our very best, but despite our best efforts, we're not able to reach everyone. Our recommendation to the government at this stage is to, while taking into consideration the many considerations on the level of security, the strain on the infrastructure, which we fully appreciate, to allow Syrians to a certain extent to work in areas that they traditionally worked in before the crisis and that the Lebanese economy needs, such as agriculture and construction, and open opportunities that could benefit both Lebanese and Syrians. And these are opportunities we're working to highlight to the government so that we can take this forward and make the best out of the situation that's by default very difficult for the Lebanese and Lebanon.
Interesting what you guys do out there. We do hope things look better sometime soon. Dana Sleiman, Public Information Officer for UNHCR in Lebanon, also graduate of the University of Oxford with a master's degree in international human rights law, joined us today from Beirut. Many thanks for talking to us. And for more updates, please visit our website on levant.tv. Or subscribe to Middle East in Depth on iTunes. Thanks for watching and bye for now.